Hey, I started making a tutorial on this, and every time I get to a certain point, it decides to freeze on me, and I don't know how to really how to edit videos. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start over, but this time I'm not gonna go step by step. I'm just gonna kind of go over what you need in your project to get this working for a basic combat. So for the character, we have equip sword on self. This is our enemy. So actually, you know what? Let's rename this to enemy. Just so we know what's going on here. So on our enemy, we have equip sword on self on start, and we pass our sword in there, our weapon or whatever we're using. We're going to say self follow player and target self player. Now this is targeting is there's a lot of different ones. So this is the one you want, the green one, set target. There's all these change target, blah 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 blah, add target candidate, all this stuff. So what you want is this green one, and you're going to set the character to self and the target to player. And then on start, we're going to have conditions, and those are here. And I'll go over these. We're going to need a local name variable and call it attack and set it default to false. And in this conditions, we're going to have if distance, character position, character, and we're going to pass in our enemy, character target, character, and pass in our enemy again. Less or equal to 5. And then we'll set our attack bool to true. Or no, we'll check if it's true. And then we're going to have our input execute A and pass in our character. Wait a random range 0 to 2, which is the default on the random range. Copy this guy, copy this guy. So we'll have that in there twice. And then we'll wait 0.5 seconds. We'll set our attack variable to false. And then our next part, we're going to have the same thing with compare distance, except this time it's greater than 5, and then we'll have a duplicate next to it that's less than 10. And then we'll check if our attack bool is false. And then I have this nice little gesture taunt you can get from Mixamo, standing taunt battle cry. And on that, we're going to pass in our character here. We're going to use root motion, and we're going to wait to complete. And then we're going to wait 0.5 seconds again and set our attack bool to true. And then the next branch, we're going to have greater than 10 distance. Check if it's false, our bool there. And then we're going to stop following. We're going to move the enemy to location, sphere surface, random range, 5 to 10. And then we're going to stop enemy movement. After, so this is going to be on wait to arrive. And on fail, I decided to just teleport him to the player. So if it doesn't work, it'll give us a log text and teleport him to the player. And then after moving the enemy on the sphere, we're going to stop enemy movement, wait 0.5 seconds, and then we're going to set our attack bool to true. And this little guy here is just to make sure that when we're at this certain distance and the bool is false, it's just going to not do anything, but we're logging the text oops, because well, you missed out on why I named it that, but it doesn't really matter. So next, after we're running those conditions, we're going to wait 1 second on this on start trigger, and then we're going to restart the instructions. Now on each the player and the character and the enemy, we have just a basic class, and we created, if we go create, game creator, stats, we created a class, a stat, and an attribute. When we create our stat, we set this base value to 100. Create our attribute, we're going to pass in the stat right here. And then on our class, we're going to make sure these are both in here. This is one step I always seem to forget for some reason. So then we're going to put that traits component on both characters. Now we're going to have a trigger on melee hit, and that attribute is going to subtract by 5. And then we're going to check conditions. If it's 0, we're going to set the enemy to false, wait 2 seconds, and reset game. But on the player, we're just going to reset game. And, you know, obviously, if you're making an actual game and not just a little demo like this, reset game and would instead be a lot of other instructions. So you're going to play an animation of death and all that good stuff. Go back to the main menu, whatever you need to do, that comes after this check of 0. So for this on update trigger, I don't recommend doing this. The reason why I did this is because I'm in an existing project, and the state for the sword, I have it setting their speed to 6 while the state is active. So just to override that, I have an update trigger, but I don't recommend using update triggers in your game whatsoever. I mean, there's really no reason to have those other than when you're just trying to force something really quick. Okay, so I think, oh yeah, so we got a box collider on each of them, and they're just basically just the default settings: 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, and just all the default settings. And you know what, we can even just turn these to triggers. It doesn't really matter. I mean, so now that doesn't really interfere with their radius. So now on the player, I have on start target self enemy and equip sword. And on the enemy, we have equip sword, follow and target player. We've got a camera shot in the scene. And that's about it. So I'm going to go ahead and save the scene here. Give my potato a second. And then we're going to test this out. And hopefully this works. Last time I didn't have a wait on the restart instructions here, so it crashed my project. But that's important whenever you have the restart instructions. You want to wait. So, okay, there we have his battle cry. He's going to come to me. He's going to attack. Wait 0 to 2 seconds and attack again. And there you go. So now I have to go away from him, and now he's going to wander around. Now if I get a little closer. Okay, so here's one thing I want to change. In the enemy here, let's just remove that. So he'll always attack, but he won't always do this other stuff unless it's false. Which he'll set it to false whenever he attacks. So there's our battle cry. He's going to attack a little bit. Attack some more. Now if I get away from him, he's going to just be like, oh, I lose interest. You see? Now if we try to get him to use his taunt again here. I think he only kind of does that at the beginning. But yeah, you can kind of see how more advanced ways, the more advanced it gets, the more issues you're going to come across. But at the beginning of the other video, when it crashed, I basically just had right here we had check distance. Oh wait, no we didn't. We had on this guy here, instead of all this, we just had an interval, I believe. And then we'll say just for, you know, okay, so we'll check his distance. Less or equal to 5. Input we'll just have that 0 to 2. And then that just kind of makes him so he just attacks. So that's a more basic way to do it. And maybe at some point I'll go over behavior trees. They're a little more complex and a little harder to set up, but once you have them going, they're quite nice. So you see he's doing all that. And since we have our attributes set up and our on melee hit, he's removing my health. So at a certain point here, let's just let him go ahead and kill me. And there we go. And the same thing goes for him. So he'll be set to inactive. We don't destroy if we have anything happens after it, because if we destroy and then we want to do something after we destroy the object, obviously we're trying to access something that doesn't exist. So then it'll wait 2 seconds, which seems a lot longer than 2 seconds though, actually, doesn't it? Should reset. Doesn't seem like it's doing that. Okay, it's probably because he's being set to false. That's another thing there. So what we'll do is add a death thing for him. Oh wait, well, enemy death, right? Call it actions, and then we're gonna set active this enemy to false, and wait, and reset. But yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of ways you can do these things, and you know, even with this thing here, you can make it do different stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I have my characters set up, and they're a little crazier, but so I'm using so here's our melee hit, shoot hit kind of stuff, and I'm using a behavior tree. And for this behavior tree, this is how we have it set up. So sequences are so it does it in order. So first it'll do this, then it'll do this, and then it'll come to this selector. And selectors will randomly pick one of these. But there's also different types. And they have descriptions here. So parallel executes all of its children at the same time. So a parallel would do all of these at once. A random selector executes the children as a selector in a random order. This doesn't really random. It's the first successful node. So if it meets one, if the conditions are met, then it'll run the one where the conditions are met, and that's how I have it set. But so then we have random sequence, executes its children as a sequence, but in a random order. So it'll do 2, 1, 3 and then stop, or it'll do 3, 1, 2 and then stop. So then we have our selector, which we just went over, and then sequence executes its child nodes in a sequence as long as they are successful. So it'll do 1, 2, 3, but if 2 isn't successful, then it'll do 1, 3. So it's pretty simple stuff. So here's your entry when the behavior starts, and then I have it going to a sequence, which it does this first. And we're sorting enemy target, which is a global list, distance by self, and then we're targeting we're setting the parameter in the behavior, which is on our blackboard here. We're setting that to the first element, which is the closest because we just sorted it. And then we're targeting that parameter, and then we're following our target. And then the next thing that happens is this. I have a barrier that the enemies pass through and the player can't. But once they come out of the barrier and they're exactly 10 meters away, they'll taunt and play a sound for their taunt. And then next, what happens... so this is a selector, though, so it'll randomly pick any of these. But this is the next part that comes after this barrier. So then we're to the selector. And then it could pick any one of these. So if they are met, if their needs are met. So we have our distance is less or equal than 10. And then if enemies is my turn. So if there's no enemies that has their turn, that it's their turn, we stop following, taunt, set, turn to self. If the enemy in the turn is their self, they equip the mace, execute A 3 times, waiting 0 to 2 seconds in between each time, and then we wait until they finish the last strike, unequip the melee weapon, and then set their turn to set it to where it's no one's turn. So then this is another one that it can select. If they're less or equal between 1 and 10, they'll stop following, and then they'll move rotation away from the target. Stop distance 5 to 10. And then if it fails, we equip the mace on self again and do a quick little spin. And then we wait until they finish the strike and unequip the melee weapon. So it kind of tells me that they failed to move by just seeing them. So we can kind of go get a look to see what that looks like. I didn't make any changes to the prefab. Alright, I'm going to turn off my start game logic so we can just get straight into it. And go ahead and play. Give it a sec here. I'll show you what this behavior does. Okay. Now I'm going to have to run my generator because I have that on my start logic, so I have a key that on the keyboard in editor mode that does this. I'll run that so they have somewhere to get to me. And we'll spawn an enemy. Oh, 1 second. I have to enable something. Is it our controls? No, yeah, okay, so our cheat, let's go ahead and go down here. Our cheat console requires this quest completed. I'll go ahead and just remove that for now. So we can spawn an enemy. And we'll spawn 3 of them. Get them on over to me. Now this is what they'll do. They don't work. Well, that's behavior trees for you. You got to make sure you got everything right, or it's just not going to work. You know, so they're not wanting to do anything here. They're targeting me, they're following me, but they're not attacking. But yeah, that's something I'm just going to have to fiddle with because let's see here, what did I change? None of these are able to fire, so something's less or equal to 10, less or equal to 5, less or equal to 10. Oh, this is why, because I use the cheat to spawn them, and the this barrier thing has to be So here's what we'll do. I'll just disconnect that for now, and then we'll do this just to demonstrate. Because when I spawn them with the cheat, they don't come out of the barrier. So it's just another one of those things where I'm gonna have to fix that. So okay, good. So that's actually a good thing I wasn't able to open the cheat console, because that means removing this stuff in play mode works the same way as anything else, where you just basically okay, that's weird. I need to fix that. But so you just basically can remove stuff. So also what we're gonna do, because we can't attack, so we'll remove this as well, and then come back in here. Mic turned off. Alright, we'll spawn 3 of them, and this should I'm still not able to equip my weapon. Hold on, let me see something here. Okay, yeah, so I know exactly what's causing that. If we go over to melee, weapons, sword player, and oh wait, no, it's the item, not the weapon. Sword. It is this here. So we'll get rid of that. Now I should be able to. Nope, I can't equip my sword, but that's all right. We'll just show what the enemies do. Because I don't feel like fiddling with that, trying to figure out why it's not letting me equip the sword. Okay, we'll spawn 3 guys. Run on over to them here. Now their behavior should work because they're not 10 meters from the barrier, which they need to be for that. So here we go. So he roars, comes over, he attacks, and now we're waiting on the next guy, but he's... Yep. So now it's all their turn for some reason. Okay. Oh no, it's his turn. Okay, yeah, so... Doesn't work exactly as intended, but it's very similar to what I wanted to happen. So you see, you kind of have like... You can have like different kind of things that they do. And they'll also target the plants and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't want them to unequip the weapon anymore, so I'll try to fix that too. But yeah, I mean, so that way we don't have them all attacking at once. If we have like 50 enemies on the screen, we don't have 50 attacks coming in our face. So there you go. That's behavior trees. And they can do a whole hell of a lot more than that, so. Alright, so that's it for our melee enemy little video here thing that we got going on. So, y'all have a good one. Take it sleazy.